a collaboration agreement with the European Commission and the Clean Hydrogen Alliance to help accelerate projects that are in, let's say, the pipeline of the Clean Hydrogen Alliance. And I will explain you how we do that, how we accelerate and de-risk throughout this webinar. But first of all, I'd like to just quickly give you a glance of who we are. So who is EIT Energy and what is EGHAC, so that you can really position ourselves and understand where we come from. So we are we're a public-private partnership, and we're part of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. We've been founded 11 years ago. One of our mandates that we were given by the European Union is to accelerate innovation in the energy sector. And we do that with big success. So we have today like more than 300 companies in our portfolio that we've invested in and that we are accelerating since like 10 years. And through this, we are the biggest since last year renewable energy tech investor in the world. We're not known so well, but we believe that we create more impact than communication. So that is also probably a good sign. We have 4 key activities that you see listed below. So we work on human capital because we believe that you also have to have the innovators of tomorrow that drive those innovations. So we have master degree programs and professional learning programs. And as I said, one of our key activities is we're incubating startups and scale-ups and investing in product development. So we invest in startups and scale-ups throughout Europe. An additional activity that we've started to set up a few years ago is we're working on industrial value chains. And some of you might have heard about, let's say, one of the initial initiatives, which is the European Battery Alliance, which was also strongly supported by Šefčovič, that has the goal to establish a battery value chain in Europe and create really value for us as Europeans and European companies here. And based on this experience that has been really successful, we've created a huge network around that and also set up a few gigafactories of sustainable battery production, one of which is Northvolt that you've probably heard of, which is also our first unicorn. We decided that we would also create something similar on hydrogen, and that is the European Green Hydrogen Acceleration Center that we'll talk to you about just now, as well as the European Solar Initiative. So about, let's say, the EGHAC, we have, let's say, 3 people who are, let's say, the core team of EGHAC, and then we are supported, that you see to the left, so Kamil, myself, and Jakob, who is the managing director of EGHAC based in the Benelux. But we also have, let's say, access to a 250 network of direct colleagues throughout Europe. So we're located in most of the European countries that help, let's say, project developers and us as a team, and really, let's say, a matrix organization kind of view to accelerate and de-risk projects. And as François also rightly said, we are, let's say, we have a huge ecosystem that, you know, has been built over the last 10 years that ranges from technology partners to financial partners. So we have good partnerships with the biggest banks in Europe, as well as, let's say, institutional partners, but we're also, and that is important, supported by Breakthrough Energy. So what is our, let's say, vision at the EGHAC, at the Hydrogen Acceleration Center? That's how we try to differentiate also from what is out there in the market. We're trying to, let's say, create integrated value chain approaches in the projects we're supporting. That means we're trying to get away from, let's say, the traditional business as usual, which means we're stacking, let's say, we're looking at the value chain, we're stacking different services along the value chain, and therefore we're stacking also the margins and risks that are linked to that, and therefore create a premium that is relatively high. Our approach is to say, no, since we're an independent entity, we're trying to bring together for you as project holders the different parties that are needed in order to create an end product with an optimal green premium, and then try to align those different, let's say, interests of players along the value chain to create, let's say, a viable business case that is closest to the green premium and lowest green premium that you can obtain. That is our different positioning. And one of our, let's say, flagship projects that we've recently invested in that you probably know or heard about is H2 Green Steel, which is, let's say, a green steel factory in the north of Sweden that is trying to, or that will, let's say, produce 5 million tons of green steel. We were one of the early stage investors together with others like Vargas, and they're exactly following our value chain approach as well, where we're looking at integrating the end customer in the venture we're building or in the company we're creating. In that case here, it was Scania and Daimler that joined, let's say, the initiative. So what do we do at EGHAC? As we said, we de-risk and accelerate projects, but first of all, we're not looking at only a single project, but we're looking at helping project holders to go beyond the project vision and create industrial players that will create the industrial, I'd say, tissue of tomorrow in the EU. And what we do is we de-risk and accelerate on the one hand through early stage investment. So early stage, we'll talk about this in a bit, what that means for us, as well as acceleration services. And that I will also explain what that means. So twofold support, one really cash, like let's say early stage investment, but also really more intangible value through our ecosystem and the services we provide to you. And we also, let's say, this is the key activity, but if we cannot, let's say, engage in an investment approach, we will also support projects in a very simple way. This is just to help accelerate, but it will not be as in-depth and pushed as the first one, but it's more to say, okay, what does the project need today? How can we help you? And we help you with a tailor-made advisory committee. They will just look at your project and say, okay, this is missing, and we can open the network here. So it's just an additional smaller service that we can also provide to you. And so, as I said, we're, let's say, investing in you through an early stage investment, which is usually like, we'll come to the ticket size that we have. But what is really important, and I'll stretch that again, we're not a financial investor solely, but we're an investor that is a co-creator. We see ourselves as a co-creator. So really this, let's say, ecosystem around like 250 people throughout Europe, they're really aiming, not everyone for sure, but we're aiming to co-create the venture with you to make it bigger, go faster, and de-risk it. And when we look at, let's say, where we would like to engage with you, as I said, we're early stage. So that is quite important because since our ticket sizes are, let's say, not that big in the sense, and we're not a financial investor purely, we usually engage, you see here the timeline of a project from origination to operation. We would usually engage from, let's say, the idea to, let's say, phase one, but usually the best, let's say, place for us is if you're at phase 0. That doesn't mean that, so front-end loading, for those, but you can read it there, for those that did not know. That doesn't mean, let's say, that we cannot engage at any other stage, but this is, let's say, our sweet spot as we see it. And now, as I said, this part here is really about, let's say, when do we engage with you and how would we work together. And now here I'd like to quickly touch upon, other than investment, which is quite straightforward, I would say, about, let's say, what do we do in terms of added value services or acceleration services. I'd like to spend a little bit of time here because this is really one of the key differentiators how we can help you as project holders. Apart from, yeah, sure, you need some cash in order to get the project forward, but this is really where we can create impact and we can help de-risk and accelerate you as fast as possible or as much as possible. So we will provide you, and once we'll go through the assessment together, we will look at, okay, where's your project at today? What do we believe together is important for you in order to move forward? So it could be, for example, that today you have a lack, yeah, or your challenge today on your offtake, which we see often in hydrogen projects. You don't have an offtaker, so we will look together at, okay, where is your location? Who could be potential off-takers? And we help you open doors. We try to find off-takers for you, together with you, for sure. Could also be that you lack access to more substantial financing. So that is probably at a later stage. But if you're going to pass, let's say, or if you want to do a FEED study, for example, and you need to raise 20 million, there we can really help you, but also for the later stages. So if you go to round B, FID, and you need to have lever to raise equity or debt financing, we can also help you through our extensive network to get access to key financial institutes. that would like to work with you. And we recently had a case, we supported a case in Spain, just to make it more tangible. We had one of the biggest banks that are now discussing to become the house bank of this project. So really helping them to co-finance like almost all their activities. So they can go really fast. Another, let's say, typical support we bring, and that's also looking at Francois here, is we help with insights and regulations. So we have a team in Brussels, since we're, let's say, public-private partnership and strongly linked to the Commission. We have a team in Brussels that understands and tries to really understand in depth what is the situation on regulation today, and how can we, leverage that, how we can support, which other entities, such as, for example, the Hydrogen Coalition, can we work with, etc. So we can supply you with information on regulation and help your case also to understand the risks and challenges. We can help you on technology. So if, for example, today you're challenged on your technology side, you've maybe made not yet the choice on who is the right electrolyzer supplier, but also when we go downstream, methanol production, ammonia production, who could be the right technology partners. There we also have really built a great network that we can leverage in order to assess, accelerate your business. So when we now move forward to, so this is in general what EGHAC is doing and how we're working and how we can support you. And now I'd really like to touch base, let's say in the last like 5 minutes, and then we can open up the floor for Q&A on, okay, how do we work with the Alliance together and the Commission, and what is our mandate in order to accelerate those projects in the pipeline. That doesn't mean that we're not accelerating other projects. So if, for example, you have projects that have not been listed in the pipeline of the Clean Hydrogen Alliance, this is not a problem. You can still also apply. This is also important to inform you about that. So now I'm going to talk to you about the process that we're going to follow in order to evaluate the different projects we would like to work with. And it's, let's say, a 4-step process. So at first, and that's maybe the most important to you now, because the deadline has been initially set to the 21st, we've extended it because there was a lot of interest to a week later. You have to go through filter 1, and I'll explain what that means. It's very, very simple and easy to do. Then we'll go to a filter 2, which is both online and questionnaire based. And later on, we'll go to, let's say, more in-depth co-creation activities that I'll explain. So when we look at this first filter that I've mentioned, we've created an online questionnaire that we'll also put later on in the chat, and that was available also in the newsletter sent out, that really focuses on some really high-level criteria of the projects we are targeting. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can really do that when you go on the website. It takes probably 10 minutes to fill out the form, maybe 15, depending on how much information you want to provide. But this is really just a first filter to see if we're really generally aligned. And here, one key parameter, for example, is your project a green hydrogen project? And we'll define that, what that means. But we're, for example, not working with blue hydrogen projects, with the Green Hydrogen Acceleration Center. But there's also other, let's say, topics such as, for example, the scale of the project. We're looking for projects that are bigger than 20 megawatts that can be replicable, etc. So here, really only an online questionnaire quickly to fill in order to then go to the next phase. The next phase then, if you've been notified by us that your project has been pre-selected in the first phase and has not already been filtered out, then we'll go and we'll send you a more detailed questionnaire where then we will have, we haven't listed that here, but it will be really a bit more detailed on criteria such as project maturity, emission reduction potential, renewables, where's your project located, business case, offtake, do you already have certain aspects? So we can screen where are you at in your project development, and is there a fit also between us and what I've explained earlier, we're early stage investor, are you further out already? Can we really support you with what we can bring? And so this will also then, once we've figured which projects we will select, we will send that out by email. And then you can share back the information, and as an outcome there we'll have a priority list of projects where we select the best in class, let's say, that we believe is best in class, to go through, let's say, a co-creation or business case improvement process. that will then end with the submittal to the business investment platform. So this doesn't also take too long. We're really trying to not slow you down, but accelerate you. We'll try to make it as lean as possible, honestly speaking, and do it more in an agile, let's say, co-creation manner, in order really to help you and not slow you down. So when we look at, let's say, after this first two filters, we will go through this co-creation process, where we look at, let's say, really in detail, what is the as-is status of your project. Yeah, so we'll go through a normal like due diligence process. Yeah, where we look at, for example, the scope, your business case, etc. And then we will evaluate like how can we support you. So through, on the one hand, early stage investments. So we have, let's say, ticket sizes depending on your project from, let's say, can even be only 250K if you're really early, depending on, what you actually need. Sometimes you just need, let's say, to have 100K in order to do a first, let's say, site assessment, pre-feasibility. We can help there as well, but it can also go up to 4 million, but that is kind of our threshold. If it goes beyond that, we're not the right partner. But usually, let's say this cash, it can also be that we engage only with a small amount and then we extend as we go along, as your project goes along. And we make that usually based on milestones. And then we also will look together with you, what is the in-kind or co-creation services, acceleration services that we can provide to you and that we jointly discuss to help you and accelerate this, so that we have a joint roadmap of where we want to go, in order to then create a to-be or like an investment proposal. And here, let's say in the investment proposal, this is then to be shared with our committee internally. There we will then also agree upon that's where your project is at, that's where we want to go within that amount of time, that's what you need in terms of cash, and that's what you need in terms of acceleration services. And then here the point is like, how can we get together? Can we get together? And hopefully yes. And if that is the case, then we prepare you also for our business investment platform. And I'll talk to you now about what that is. So the business investment platform is really then the final step of this investment process, and usually leads to a contract signature between us. And we really try, you will see in a bit, like try to make this very lean so that we don't have to spend too much time on negotiations, etc. We can really already start working really quickly in order to accelerate. Let's say the business investment platform process consists in actually submitting an investment proposal that we've previously discussed to, on the one hand, the Energy Investment Committee. This is our executive committee, which is usually advised by some strategic and financial project partners. So it's an advisory board that is there in addition to the committee that will help assess your case and already at this stage provide feedback on how we can accelerate it. So there will be, for example, key people that are specifically interesting for your project that we will engage in this committee that can already help you. So for example, if you're in need of financing, we'll probably bring in some financial institutes that we work with that we believe there could be a good fit, so that they already hear about your project and we can already start the acceleration process at the decision making. And as I said here, let's say, is really the advisory board is something additional to the executive committee, and it will be adjusted to your specific case in order to already maximize impact. So yeah, this is just, let's say, to remind you again, we have this, or to bring up, let's say, the filter process again, from filter 1, very simple, 10 minutes, maybe 15, to a more detailed one. And then we have the co-creation negotiation timeline. In this part here, we will really ask you also to be available. We do that in a fast, let's say, agile sprint-like kind of way. So we will say, okay, we have project X. We now meet 5 times a week, every day, in order to really understand what's the case, etc., and to go fast. Not to extend that for like 2 months, but really to go fast. And then we go through the investment platform in our executive committee and finalize through a contract and then actually a concrete engagement. And here, just a quick reminder on the different deadlines that we have. Take them a bit with a grain of salt. We've put them also to be, let's say, aggressive a bit and to go fast. But I mean, if there's a few projects that come in, let's say at a later stage, we will also probably consider them if there are some interesting ones. So it depends also on how many will apply. But so it's better to be early, but it's also okay if it's a bit later. So we've extended this first deadline to the 29th, which was initially set to the 21st. And then we will, let's say, give you feedback on the detailed questionnaire, say already by the end of May. And go through, let's say, the whole process and try to really engage with you already by July, if possible. So it depends on how fast you are also in submitting the information, then we can go fast. We'll do that as projects go along as well. So that is, let's say, our presentation. And now we have a few minutes left to reply to a few questions and answers in case we have some. And François will send around also this presentation later on with the link to the questionnaire here, or you can find it on our website. And now I would like to invite Camille Makloufi to join the floor and to help with some questions. Thank you. If there are no questions, that's also fine. Oh, there is a question from Teresa.
Yes. Let me turn on the camera. Hi.
Hi.
This is Teresa. So I have a question. Do you also assist in accessing funds for the development of projects, or your aim is the actual construction and the infrastructure and the operation, but also for the development, the engineering studies, especially?
Yeah. So maybe I can just say that it's a really good question. So we are really early stage. So we will really, we engage in the development. Once it gets to construction, where, you know, our, let's say, financial volume is not the right one. No? There we will help you find, for example, debt finance through our partners, yes. But we really engage super early, and we can provide, let's say, first equity finance for the first pre-feasibility studies, etc. But it can also go to the pre-feed, but there we will not carry it by ourselves. We can help through additional financial partners.
Okay, so this questionnaire would also cover that part of the project?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sunny.
Hi, Karina.
Hi.
And thank you for the overview. Yes, okay, but so in a way, my question was also partly answered already. One of them was, if I understood correctly, the maximum amount of capex would be 4 million, but it's really in the first stage of project development. So it's not when you've already done all the feasibility studies and you basically know. Okay, and then maybe a little bit out of curiosity, if you then compare, because you were speaking about project maturity and that you also analyze the project maturity yourself. And if you would somehow compare yourself, for example, to the Innovation Fund, I mean, now in very, general terms, and that the Innovation Fund always or aims at funding innovative demonstration installations that are not economically feasible standalone. Is that the same approach that you have, or do you try to look out for projects that, let's say, have a higher TRL, technology readiness level, a higher economic feasibility, so that basically it's just this financial injection and then, the project will grow on itself, but it will not be dependent on funding, for example, for 5 or 10 years?
Maybe I can take this question. I think it's a very good question, in the sense that if we analyze the application of the Innovation Fund, the project that applies are already well matured. They have already, they are already in the stages of a FAIL2 study already done. And now, especially with this new, the fact that the Innovation Fund does not have 2 rounds, but 1 rounds, that means that all applicants must comply with very, very stringent rules, especially, for example, have, a full design with audited GHG emission. So what we do is that we allow project to reach these stages. So we intervene at the stage where the project are still risky, and we provide the initial fund and acceleration service so that the project can reach this stage and then participate to the innovation fund.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, that explains it quite a lot. Thanks.
You're perfect. Then we have also Mark Rechter.
Yes, hi Karina. Thanks very much.
Hi, Mark.
Interesting presentation. Just a quick question. I saw that the focus is on mostly industrial decarbonization. Does that mean that mobility decarbonization in terms of hydrogen trucking, for instance, and related infrastructures falls outside of your scope?
So we usually, I mean, we have already invested in a case on, I'd say, on mobility. So we're also interested to learn more about mobility cases. Huh? They fall into the scope. Point.
And maybe
Yeah?
also we can mention that the fourth question of the small form, Google form that we prepared, I would say depicts the value chain that are included, and it accounts for sustainable aviation fuel, hydrogen production for steel, heavy goods transport, and heat, ammonia production for shipping, chemical industry and fertilizer, and methanol production, shipping and chemical industry. So obviously I would say any application where hydrogen could be considered as the best available technology in the 10 coming years is included in the pipeline of projects that we consider.
Great. Thanks, Kamal. Yeah, it was a bit unclear from the slide that I saw, but that's perfect answer. So last or second question maybe is the pipeline projects that you will consider are only pipeline projects that are in the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance pipeline, or also outside of that?
So here we're presenting, let's say, we have this partnership with the Commission, where it really is around like accelerating the pipeline of the Clean Hydrogen Alliance. But I would say if you have a project that is not listed there, you can still apply, because I mean, this is great that we have this partnership, but we're also accelerating other projects in parallel. So please also go ahead and apply. No problem.
Great. Okay. Now we have both and expanding, so I was just curious. So that's perfect. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Perfect. Are there any other questions? I don't see any hands raised anymore. So we're already like we have till 10, I think, but we can already close, I think. So if there are no more questions. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see other questions. Well, Karina, Kamil, thank you very much for this. We will share the recording. We will share the presentation with everyone, so you can distribute that internally within your organizations as well. And don't hesitate to get back to Karina and Kamil for more questions, if any, in the coming days. As you heard, you still have a little time to provide the first step of the process and respond to the questionnaire. One last word from my side, beyond the purpose of this webinar. Let me flag, if you haven't seen already, that we will have our second Renewable Hydrogen Summit on the 31st of May in the afternoon. I'm flagging this to you because there are currently available seats for everyone, but we only have 300 seats, and they are taken quite fast. So here is the website where you can join our summit and register. You have a dedicated webpage for that. You have free registration, and I encourage you to register as soon as possible. 31st of May is the date. From 2 p.m. onwards, there will be a big reception after the summit, starting from 5:30 in the afternoon. You have more information about the agenda as well. Two key focus for this summit: how we transform the European industry, moving away from the status quo, but also renewable hydrogen as a matter of energy security. And we will have very distinguished invitees Of course, our chairs, Mr. Galan and Aldag from Iberdrola and Sunfire, but also Kadri Simpson herself, people from the European Parliament, other CEOs, and more to come in the coming days. Don't forget to register, that's important. This is a big party for us and the work done within the coalition. So voila. With that, I will close the meeting unless there are any further questions or comments.
The event will also be online?
No, this is an event in Brussels.
Okay.
In person, and there will be no connection online. And we expect to have a quite fair number of CEOs and executives at the meeting, plus the whole variety of stakeholders working in the hydrogen sphere, but also NGOs and end users. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Karina, Kamel, thank you again.
Thank you, François.
And wishing all of you a lovely afternoon.
Yeah, you too.
You
Take
too.
care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.